Spoiler warning for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny makes the same mistake with its title that it does with the rest of the movie.
It's too long and very cheesy.
But once you get past the title, the movie starts back in 1944, near the end of World War II.
Indy and his friend Basil Shaw get captured while infiltrating a Nazi base, which just so happens to be filled with tons of artifacts.
The most important of which is the Lance of Longinus.
Don't you mean the Dial of Destiny?
No, it's called the Lance of Longinus. The Antikythera, or Archimedes' dial, comes later.
Then why are we wasting our time on the lance? I mean, what's so special about it?
Oh, absolutely nothing.
What? No wonder this movie is so long.
Let me explain. So this lance is nothing special because it's a replica, which we find out later, but the original was supposed to have been what stabbed Jesus on the cross, so that'd be pretty significant.
Okay. Can we move on to the train scene now? I mean, that was at least pretty cool.
Well, I think we first need to explain that Indy and Shaw are broken up, with Shaw on the train and Indy chasing after it.
Well, once Indy makes his way onto the train, he has to figure out a way around all the Nazis on the train.
Oh, don't worry. With the uniform, he'll blend right in.
Until he doesn't. I mean, come on. We gotta have some good action.
Well, among this action, we find out that the lance is fake.
I thought we already knew that.
We did, but they didn't.
Who's they?
And it's at this time that we learn about the Antikythera.
If we already know about this stuff, then why are you repeating yourself?
So Indy and Shaw get their hands on this, and they start making their way to the front of the train to get away from all the Nazis.
Didn't someone get their head knocked off around this time?
Ah, yes, Dr. Voller. Yeah, don't worry, minor scratch.
Anyways, long story short, the two escape with the dial.
Well, actually, it's only half of the dial. The other half is what the rest of the movie is about.
Cut to 1969. Everyone's old, and Indy is not in great shape.
He's an old and cranky man who doesn't really care about the moon.
Well, that's okay, because no one cares about history or archaeology, as shown in the class he's teaching.
Well, not everyone. There is one girl in his class, in the very back, that seems to know a lot.
Ah yes, the annoying know-it-all that never seems to know when to shut up.
Are you describing her, or people like her?
Yes.
Well, anyways, Indy goes to a bar to celebrate retiring when this woman approaches him and introduces herself as Helena Shaw.
Shaw. Oh. That name sounds familiar.
Well, it should, because her father was Indy's friend in that first scene. Pretty good friend too, since he's her godfather.
But not a very good one, being he hadn't seen her in over a decade.
Yes, but they both remember that last night they saw each other very well. Turns out, Shaw basically went mad because of the dial, and Indy in turn took it from him.
He said he would destroy it.
But he doesn't, and it turns out Helena kinda knew this.
Yeah, she went to Indy with hopes of retrieving the dial, but when he revealed he had it, she made the mistake of saying, "I knew you wouldn't destroy it."
Which clues Indy into the fact that she's been lying to him this whole time.
Now, before we get any further, isn't there some kind of villain or something in the story we need to be introduced to? Or is that just Helena?
You remember that guy on the train who got hit by that sign?
Yeah, what about him?
I told you he'd be fine. Not so much as a scratch on him. Literally. Not even a scratch.
Okay. Well, he just helped land the good old US of A on the moon. But secretly, he's still a Nazi, and is very much so obsessed with the dial.
He also is apparently aware of Dr. Shaw, and his obsession with the dial. I mean, that's the only way to explain how he knows to go after Helena, right?
Let's not forget, too, that he has the CIA at his fingertips. See, after he helped the USA land on the moon, they wanted to keep him happy, so they basically do whatever he wants.
Including tracking down Helena so he can have this dial.
I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like anyone's gonna get hurt. Okay, fine. Maybe a few civilians get shot and killed unnecessarily. But it's a minor inconvenience to make Dr. Voller happy. Right?
To Voller it doesn't, but to the CIA agent, it's strike one.
Anyway, Helena escapes with the dial, and Indy gets captured by Volar's men.
Until he gets away from them in the Moon Day Parade.
After escaping, Indy finds out that he is wanted for the murders of the 2 faculty members that were killed by Volar's men.
But that doesn't really matter because it really never comes up again.
We then are greeted by Sala, who helps Indy figure out where Helena went.
He then gets on a plane tracking down Helena. When he finds her, she's selling the dial to the highest bidder.
And as the 2 of them argue, none other than Dr. Volar himself decides to join the party.
This ends up causing a lot of chaos, and everyone's fighting over possession of the dial. But it ends up in Volar's hands, and he runs off with it.
But Indy and Helena don't give up that easily. They chase him down.
Not a bad chase scene in my opinion, but it doesn't really matter because Volar and his men still get away, and Indy and Helena are left with nothing.
So instead of going after Volar, they decide it would be better to find the other half of the dial. Like that's gonna end well.
In retrospect, it might have been better if they did not do that, being that they basically end up giving Volar exactly what he wants.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be an action movie if it didn't come down to the wire.
True.
So, despite Helena not particularly liking the idea of working alongside Indy, she goes along with it because Indy has a friend who can help them retrieve some ancient tablet, which is currently at the bottom of the Aegean Sea. Does that make sense?
If they get this, it can lead them to Archimedes' tomb, which is where the other half of the dial is. Although, I'm still not really sure what the plan is here. Are they gonna destroy it? Or maybe put it in a museum where it would be easier for him to steal?
So, to make an extremely, unbearably long story short, once they find Archimedes' tomb, Volar catches up with them and shoots Indy.
Yeah, but that's only important when the plot demands it.
And then once again runs off with the dial.
Ah, yes. But this time it's the whole dial, all put together and ready for time travel.
And that's exactly what they do. They load up on a plane and make their way to a rift in time somewhere in the skies.
At this point, Indy is doing just fine, with his untreated gunshot wound to the shoulder. However, Volar and his men did capture him and take him on the plane, so Helena is trying to rescue him.
Oh yeah, did we mention that Volar's plan is to go back in time, kill Hitler, take over, and make sure that the Nazis win the war?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, well, it really doesn't matter, because boom, they time traveled. But instead of going back to when they wanted to, sometime back in the 1940s during the war, they are taken back to sometime around 200 BC.
That's just a bit farther back than they wanted to go.
Maybe just a little bit.
You know, they should probably just turn around and go back. That seems like a reasonable plan.
Probably. But instead, they panic, start fighting in a battle that's going on, and pretty much get shot down, causing the plane to crash.
As they watch the battle take place, Indy and Helena are amazed, and Indy says he wants to stay.
But instead, Helena knocks him out cold and says, "No, you're coming with me."
He then wakes up in his apartment,
Finally having gotten his shoulder taken care of.
just when Helena walks by, proving that she does care about him, showing growth in her character, and letting you know that she doesn't just care about money.
Indy, however, isn't too happy she didn't just let him stay.
Just then, Marion walks in, and they have a heartfelt moment that maybe we've seen before and maybe we haven't. But either way, I think we can all agree we loved it.
And with that, Indiana Jones hangs up his hat, finally happy, with no more adventures left for him in the future. Please, we don't need any more of these.